Hey guys, Miss Fan here. So we're going to go ahead and look at Unit 1, Note 7. We are going to convert equations into slope-intercept form. So there is a couple different forms for equations that you could be given, but the one that we really like things to be in is slope-intercept form, which we stated in the last video is y equals mx plus b. So here are the questions we have to ask ourselves. First of all, are there any parentheses? If you see parentheses, you need to distribute that number through first to start simplifying things, okay? Then you want to say, is y on the correct side of the equation, or of the equal sign? It needs to be on the opposite side of the x, okay? It does not matter if it's on the left side of the equal sign or the right side of the equal sign, but you need to have y on one side and x on the other, okay? Is there anything being added or subtracted to the y? If there is, you got to cancel that out by doing the opposite operation. Remember, we want to get the y alone. And then if the y is still not alone, then we have to divide everything by that number, okay? Everything. Most important thing when you do that is your slope, okay, that m, that needs to be left as a fraction. If you can't divide it nicely, then just leave it as a fraction, because remember, slope is like rise over run. So we like it as a fraction anyways. So let's look at this first example here. Example number 1, I have 2y equals 6x plus 2. You're going to notice that there are no parentheses, so I don't have to worry about that first step. The x and the y are already on opposite sides, so I don't have to worry about that second step. There is nothing being added or subtracted to the y, so I don't have to worry about that third step. But that last step says, is the y alone? The y is not alone yet, okay? Because remember, I'm trying to get y equals. In order to get that y alone, it's being times or multiplied by 2 right now. So to undo multiplication, we are going to divide. And we divide everything by 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. 1y and y are the same thing. 6 divided by 2, I can actually do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. I still have that x. And then I have plus 2 divided by 2 is going to give me 1. I am in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The y is alone. It's positive, so therefore, that's my answer, and I am done. Let's look at number 2. There are no parentheses. Don't have to worry about that. The x and the y are not on opposite sides, though. So I need to get the x, this x over to the other side. So to do that, it is a positive 3x. So to get rid of a positive 3x, or to move a positive 3x, we're going to subtract 3x. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So these are going to cancel. I'm going to be left with 4y equal. Now, common mistake people are going to make is they're going to try to put this negative 3x and this 20 together. You cannot do that. One has an x and one doesn't. So we cannot smush those together. So we're going to leave them separate. And we usually like to write the x first. So I'm going to have negative 3x and I have plus 20 because it's a positive 20 up there. So now there's nothing being added or subtracted to the y's, but it's being multiplied by 4. So to undo multiplication, we divide everything by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is going to give me y. Negative 3 divided by 4 does not come out nice, so I'm just going to leave that as negative 3 divided by 4x plus 20 divided by 4 is going to give me 5. The y is alone. I'm in slope-intercept form, so that's my final answer. Number 3 here. Y minus 5 equals 6 times x minus 1. First things first, we have parentheses. In this example, we do, so I need to distribute that through first. So I'm going to have y minus 5 equal to 6x minus 6. So now I'm going to say, is the y and the x on opposite sides? They are. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at the y. There's something being added or subtracted to it, so I have to get rid of that first. So to get rid of minus 5, we're going to add 5. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So I'm going to have y equals. Now this 5 over here that I'm adding, I have to make sure I add it to the thing. That 5 doesn't have an x, so I have to add it to the thing that does not have an x. So I'm going to have 6x, and then I have negative 6 plus 5 is going to give me negative 1. The y is alone. I'm in slope-intercept form, so I'm good to go. Here's example number 4 here. Excuse me. I have 9x equal to 36 plus 6y. Now, the x and the y are on opposite sides. That's good, okay? It does not matter that the y is on the right versus on the left. It's still on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we can leave that y over there, and we're going to go on to the next step. I have to get rid of whatever's being added or subtracted to the y. Well, this positive 36 is what's being added, so I have to get rid of a positive 36 by subtracting 36. What you do to one side, you have to do the other. So when I look at 9x minus 36, I cannot do that because one has an x and one does not. So I'm going to leave that as two separate things, 9x minus 36 equal to 6y. So now remember, we're still just trying to get the y alone. So I need to get rid of what's being multiplied by dividing by 6 for everything. So 9 divided by 6 does not come out nice, but we can simplify that. We can divide both of those things by 3. So I'm going to be left with 3 over 2x minus 36 divided by 6 is going to give me 6, and that's going to equal to y. So it looked a little funky, but the y is still alone, and I'm still in slope-intercept form, so that is good to go. Number 5 here. The x and the y are not on opposite sides, so I'm going to move the x over to the other side. So it's a positive. I need to subtract it. So I'm going to be left with negative 2y. Again, one has an x and one doesn't, so I cannot put those together. So I'm going to leave them as separate pieces. And now I have to get rid of that negative 2. Now, here's the thing that most people forget to do. They say, well, I'm just going to divide everything by 2. But you have to remember that this is technically a negative 2. So we need to get rid of that negative as well. So I need to divide everything by negative 2. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 is going to give me y. A negative 5 divided by a negative 2, I cannot make that nice. Like, I can't divide a 2 into 5. But I know that a negative divided by a negative is going to give me a positive. And then I have a negative 15 divided by negative 2. That's going to end up again being positive. And this isn't going to come out nicely. So you can do two things. You can leave it as a fraction or you can write it as a decimal. The only one that we really want to be a fraction is that slope because of the rise over run that we look for when we're graphing it. The y is alone, so that's my answer, and I'm good to go to the last problem here. Fractions. We love fractions. So I see this 3/2 next to these parentheses. That means I'm going to distribute it through. So I'm going to be left with 3x over 2. Because remember, I always put the x on the top of the fraction. It doesn't really matter because we're not solving in this situation, but I like it up there. So now if I do 3/2 of 4, you have to do the top number, so 3 times the 4. So I'm going to get 12 divided by the 2. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 is 12, divided by 2 is going to give me 6. And that's going to equal y minus 13. So now the x and the y are already on opposite sides, but I need to get that y alone. So I need to get rid of minusing 13. To get rid of minus 13, we're going to add 13 to both sides. So I'm still going to have 3 over 2x. 6 plus 13 is going to give me 19 equals the y that's alone. So again, the y is on the other side, but that's okay. It is still alone, which is what we're looking for. So you are on to the practice for Unit 1, Practice 7. If you have questions, let me know. Good luck.